Hi, I'm Nathan LANTZ, Project Director here at Brain Academy. Now what we did was we put together a Unity tutorial for you. And on this little documentary, each of us are going to go through what we individually did on the project. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience being a project director and each individual member, and they all worked very, very hard, so I hope you enjoy. Each individual member, they're going to go through what their unique expertise and what their learning outcomes of this was. We're also going to cover sort of our theory around this whole series was and our approach, what we were thinking about when putting it together. So I hope you enjoy. So our approach moving forward in this Unity tutorial is essentially what we wanted you to do is to both be able to have the guidance of a full-on lecture-style video while also allowing you to have your own creative license. We wanted you as a viewer and as a sort of a student of ours be allowed to have your own creative freedoms moving forward, because we honestly think that's the best way to learn. So throughout the series, we'll cover very specific topics, but you can either choose which one you want to watch and we'll go over the details, or you can start from scratch, take our Unity package and go all the way through. We personally feel that's the best way to go about it. So what I did on the project was I was a project lead or a director or a producer. Essentially what my job was to organize everyone else in the project. So I would assign specific tasks per week. I would assign milestones, make sure everyone meets those milestones. And I think an important thing that I'd like to address to you is that planning everything out before you start is very important. And having that constant communication with everyone who's going to be working on your project before, throughout, and even after is significant to a project success. If communication isn't present, then you have people who might forget, people who might have other things going on in their lives, which an important note on that is be aware that people can get busy and people can get, things can come up. So make sure that not only as a leader you're being strict enough, but at the same time you want to be compassionate.
Hey guys, I'm Martin BOOTE, production manager here at Brain Academy. In addition to that role, I helped with the general design of the game, prototyping the video workflow before we started the project. Did some of the script writing, some of the editing, and for most of the documentary, except this bit obviously, I was working the audio. At the start of the project, I was primarily concerned with working with Nathan and Chris, setting up the workflow for episode structure. During production, most of my involvement was in scripting and editing videos. The big thing that I did besides that was setting up the lighting engine to work in the way that we wanted to, so that we could do post-processing and things of that nature. And the main thing that we're trying to promote with this project, and the thing that I was in charge of making sure came through, was the idea of the Socratic teaching method. That is, as a rough outline, the style of teaching where the students voluntarily come to the teacher to learn, as you have done here, and the learning is bi-directional. The teacher isn't the final arbiter of knowledge on the subject that's being taught. They're simply a more experienced student who is passing along their knowledge to those who come looking for it.
Hello, I'm Adam Henderson. I am the lead designer as well as the video production supervisor here at Brain Academy. I also did all of the works on the particle systems as well as the sound for our project. You may recognize me from some of the videos, which I did voiceover for as well. So mainly my role here at Brain Academy was creating the on-paper designs as well as implementing them into the Unity engine. I worked on setting up animation trees, prefab creations, as well as setting up and working with Nathan on the HUD. One of the things we wanted to convey with this project was a feeling of working on a team. Game development is an incredibly collaborative environment, and it's hard to get experience working with a group of people. So we made sure to include all of us in the entire process of making both these videos and the game itself, so you could get a feeling of what that's like. Another thing we did is we made sure to include some of the mistakes we made along the way while we were working on this project, because when you make a mistake, that's an opportunity for you to learn and it's an opportunity for us to learn. So we made sure that we got as much of that in the project as we could. So thank you all for watching, and stay frosty.
Hello, I'm Calvin Bowen, and I'm the 3D artist and animator at Brain Academy. My task was to create the various character models and geometry assets you'd be using throughout your project. Before they're put into Unity, they're modeled and rigged if necessary in a program like Blender, and they're textured in places like Substance. Well, I imagine that plenty of people working on the project, Eggbot, our player character says, what we colorfully call him, might be one of their first introductions to a rig such as that. Oddly enough, it was actually one of the first rigs that I created in Blender, as all of my experience came through Max. One particularly tricky aspect was animating him, as I need the animation to have enough detail to look right on his particularly chunky frame, but I also needed to make it quick enough so that it didn't come out with too much input lag in the animation player. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out and hope it will serve as a valuable asset towards people stringing together player animation for the first time. I think the biggest takeaway I got from this entire thing was the idea of designing something to be simple. If we had made Eggbot a very unorthodox character design, it would have been counterintuitive for the purpose. See, he needed to be able to be modified or replaced by whatever the artist needed him to be. So while I imagine a lot of artists, like 3D artists, 2D artists, any artist like myself would want to create something unique or mind-blowing, it wouldn't have worked well for what we wanted to do. And the idea of creating something simple for the purposes of versatility is not only useful when it comes to learning, but to teach it.
Hi, my name is Ivy, and I was the 2D artist at Brain Academy. On the project, I worked on creating any 2D assets for the game that included in-game assets as well as video assets. I also was in charge of making the branding art for Brain Academy itself. So in terms of the assets I've made for UI assets, I made buttons as well as splash screens, and I also worked on making HUD art as well. And in terms of the video assets and branded assets, I created a logo for Brain Academy as well as branded video assets like a title screen and transition cards. In terms of my lessons that I've taken away from working on this project, I would say the biggest lesson would be the importance of communication on a large team, especially the fact that we were all working remotely. It really became apparent to me how important it was to remain transparent with all the team members and communicate any problems that you were having, making sure that you ask questions when necessary, and just being flexible and adaptable.
Hello, my name is Matthew Newton, and I am the level designer and video editor at Brain Academy. Basically, my job was to create levels for the tutorial you see as you follow the videos, as well as try to make 3 levels throughout our package in general. Video editing was more so I got to edit videos, and sometimes you may see little editor notes that are by Matt, which is me. A few anecdotes to take away from this project in general was mostly me being able to understand how to create more of and polish my level design techniques. It also allowed me to learn the video editing software, DaVinci. It might have been tough at times, however, I think I gained an understanding of it. As for takeaways from this project, I hope it is a different perspective on having to teach somebody towards actually creating level from all the concepts and theories I know in order to teach it to somebody and express it through video content. Anyways, that's my segment on level design and video editing. Stay frosty.
Hi, I'm AGUSIA. You may recognize me from the voice in the Programmer's Corner, and I did the mechanical programming as well as the voiceovers, as you know, for Brain Academy and our YouTube tutorial series. Now, the things I did, the scripts that I wrote were the pickup script, the checkpoint, all the HUD stuff, dying, the smaller scripts, while Kyle did all the major stuff, and then I did the voiceover for all of it. So the biggest takeaway I have from the project is that you think making a game is simple, and then you realize it's challenging. Now, adding another layer to that, explaining a game is extra challenging, so you have to keep everything manageable and keep it all broken down. You don't want to worry too much about all those things, and just try your best. With practice, it will all help out. It'll all work out in the end. Thank you for watching Brain Academy. I hope you learned a lot and were able to surpass and get better from our mistakes and everything else we taught you.
Hey, I'm KRZYWINSKA, and I worked as the technical artist at Brain Academy. My main role was developing the shaders and doing some other effects work for the game, as well as doing some scripting for some of the episodes and some voiceover work. So in particular, the main shaders I created were the master character shader, which includes all of the necessary texture maps involved, as well as a bright red Fresnel effect that we made flash in and out when the character would get hit by an enemy. As well, I did the pickup shader, which included a light shimmering effect that made the pickups glow. For particles, I did some of the main mechanic particle systems, and for episode 4, 5, and 7, I did some VO work and some designing and scripting of the episodes. So my main takeaway for this experience was just learning the working online and not really having a space for everybody to work on the project together was really a point of contention and something that I definitely learned from. Communication was huge on this project since things were happening over Discord and online, and it just made the game development part just a little bit harder, but we persevered and I had a lot of fun on the project.
Hey, I'm Kyle Jones, lead programmer here at Brain Academy. I wrote all of the code that has to do with moving the enemies and the player, as well as those sweet hookshot movements. Additionally, my code had to send instructions to Adam's animator, Chris's shaders, and Matt's levels. Together, this drives the gameplay and crafts the user experience. To get the player actually moving and hookshotting around, I had to write a script which translates our button presses on the controller into actual instructions to send over to Unity's character controller, as well as handling a bit of physics myself. Before starting this project, I'd never really written a character controller before, so it was really interesting to see the components and functions I wrote come together to give a satisfying movement. All in all, working on this project has been a lot of fun and very educational. It was also the first time I'd worked closely with another programmer on a project, so I learned a lot about teamwork and code coupling. I'm Kyle, thank you for watching, now back to Nathan.
Thank you for watching. Thanks for watching this video. Thanks for learning with us. Thank you for joining us on this little railroad coaster that it's been. If you ever want to contact us, I do want to mention that we do have an email. If you find something that you want to add or correct, or if you have a question, we're happy to answer. So without further ado, if you haven't seen the videos yet, feel free. Stay frosty.